So you would think that the whole Sarah Boone situation is over with, right? She zipped Jorge in the suitcase. She either beat him with a bat or he suffocated. Long story short, the man died in a suitcase, and you're going to go to jail for a really long time for that. You know, she wrote her letter, the amended version, because it was too long to last for the entire proceeding. She wrote her letter to the family. She forgives the Torres family for being so horrible to her. She forgives Jorge for beating her and introducing her to sodomy and doing all these horrible things to her. She has a lot of gold in her heart. Remember that, right? It's the whole Japanese pottery skill to infuse gold with a broken pot. And every time I get broken, there's a little bit more gold that is added to me. Remember that, right? We're going to move forward to how much gold Sarah Boone has in regard to the judge, because she has a few things to say to the judge. And I think the only reason her letter was amended to the level it was because she was going after Judge Kraynick the entire time. Okay, so she filed the letter, she sent it, and she wants the rest of the world to know what she's thinking and how she's feeling. She wants the rest of the world who really cares about her to know how she's feeling about this verdict. Ladies and gentlemen, let's go ahead and check this thing out. Sarah Boone with the full version of her letter, and she has a few things to say about Judge Kraynick. She has a lot of gold to go ahead and give Judge Kraynick, but we're going to leave that to you for interpretation. Let's just go ahead and read this letter. So we start off. I am enclosing, please, my complete statement to you and the world as I partially read during my sentence hearing. By my reserving particular parts of my very true and meaningful statement, I was hoping to have been graced with your forgiveness, understanding, and consideration in any level or degree. For me, unfortunately, and regardless of when I had to speak on my behalf, your ignorant mind was already made up. Now let's stop there, folks. Let's stop there, bro. We need to take a quick pause. She said that she redacted parts of her letter so that hopefully he could give her some leniency. What type of sick psychopathic thinking is that? You're telling him. You're here telling the judge right now that the only reason that you didn't call him a fucking dumbass and a moron was because you were hoping that he would give you some leniency. I understand why Judge Kraynick had no words, because there's no winning with someone like this. You either end the case or you entertain it. And for him, he ended that shit with no words said. You cannot win against a person like Sarah Boone. She is single-handedly calling this man an ignorant piece of shit to his face, just because the outcome was what she didn't want. But let's continue. By your clear error and full-blown unfair bias against me since your involvement in my crucible case as a whole, I have been unsuccessful in receiving anything from you. As a supposed fair and, I'm not sure what she said there, you guys help me out. As a supposed fair and blank judge, except for your wish that I spend the rest of my life in prison. Please know and always remember, Mr. Kraynick, I forgive you, still and sincerely. Please understand also, the judge, according to Cesario, is never to lose sight that he is simply a man, and that he cannot exceed the power given to him by his commission. That not only power, but public confidence has been given to him. That he sought always very seriously to attend not to his wishes, but to the requisitions of law, of justice, and religion. I am excited in my appeal, which speaks for itself. My case law, as well, in which I am extremely proud to have achieved and will continue doing so now that I am no longer in your corrupt court and free from your malevolent judicial grip. Sarah Boone versus the state of Florida. I also have added to my statement, as a result of your blindness and impartiality, foremost, your disgust in me as being an outspoken woman, determined defendant, and an outspoken client, hoping that next time you put on your listening ears and you do not unfairly oppress the next as you have so blatantly done to me. You will never admit your many judicial errors, nor will the prosecutors theirs, and will never admit to what you have wrongfully accused me of and judged me as. I am not a murderer. I am a survivor. All right, now, ladies and gentlemen, listen. I'm doing this for y'all because I did not want to read this shit. This is full on nonsense, and I wish she could have typed it out so I could have read it a bit faster. But what I'm understanding from this is that Sarah Boone is going after Kraynick. Now, honestly, Kraynick should really just charge her with some other shit. Being an asshole should be one of the charges. Being an asshole, 2 years. She's telling him that he's impartial. She's telling him that he doesn't listen. Bro, I never thought Sarah would be so disrespectful because, you know, we saw the other messages that she sent him, but I always thought she was trying to be Miss Lawyer. You know, she was trying to put on the suit. She was trying to cut the hair and just be Mrs. Corporate America Lawyer. You know, I thought she was just trying to be a bulldog. No, she's just a rude bitch. So basically everything he's done, this whole verdict, you know, fuck the jury. You know what I'm saying? Who cares what the jury had to say about your trifling ass? It's the judge. It's because of him. He doesn't care about her, and he doesn't want to hear about the things she has to say, and she really hopes that the next person doesn't get fucked over by him. If somebody were to tell me some shit like that, I promise you I'm adding another 5 years. Another 5 years for being a dickhead. Like, what? I didn't even think you could talk to the judge like this. I thought that was contempt of court. She's over here literally attacking this man. And you want to know why her court speech was amended slightly, right? Okay, but let's continue. Black robe disease, arrogance in a judge. A slang term for a judge who flaunts his judicial power and dominates proceedings at the expense of the dispensation of justice. This bitch is crazy. Man, I swear I'd give her a couple more years just for being an asshole, but maybe you can't do that as a judge. But now she's just basically calling him a thug. All right, Judge Kraynick is a dickhead thug who just sends people to jail for no reason. Let's continue though. Impartiality is the first duty of a judge before he gives an opinion or sits in the judgment in a case. He sought to be certain and absolute, that he has no bias for or against either of the parties. So she continues on in the paragraph, basically listing out reasons as to why Judge Kraynick can't even sit as judge. You know, he has too much interest in the case. And she writes a lot of things that I can't even make out, honestly, but they're just thing after thing, reasons why he shouldn't even be able to sit as judge in her case. The judge must not only be impartial, but must also follow and properly enforce the law, not abuse. He is bound to declare what law is, and not make it to be an arbitrator, but an interpreter of the law. It is their duty to be patient in their investigation of the case, understand the circumstance and difficulties by all parties, careful in considering parts of the case in a whole, and decent in judgment. One thing I will say, the Tiffany Henyard wishes she could write like Sarah Boone. I'll say that much. This, like, she's saying that he's supposed to hear both sides. Bro, he heard both sides. You zipped him up in a suitcase and insulted the family the entire trial. I think we heard all we needed to hear. We don't need a Judge Kraynick to pass on that type of a sentence. We could use Bob from Target, and he would pass on the same sentence. And hey, hands up, you know, that's why we have a jury, because Bob from Target got to come over and give his opinion. And every single person on the jury thought you were guilty. So please shut the fuck up. You guys are going to help me because I don't know what she's trying to say. She says, but at the risk of practicing judicial, what's that word? Judicial syntition? Synultition? I don't know what that word is. I've been here for the past 5 minutes trying to figure it out. Judicial sin. Is that sin? I don't know. I don't know what she's trying to write there, but we'll just call it judicial syntition. A word I have coined in this presentation. Others have called it black robe disease. Whether he was correct or not in my behavior, it is widely accepted that judicial behavior affects the jury. And then she just puts a quote from who said it. And then there is the worst of judicial ailments, the black robe disease, which is otherwise known as arrogance. And then she quotes another person. You could tell that Sarah's obsessed with this whole black robe situation, the black robe disease. You know, he's just a tyrant. He's just walking around in his black demon robes, casting people down to the shallow realm for no reason. She goes on to quote person after person after person, almost as if she's writing an essay and she's giving her backup evidence to support her claims. I don't know how this is really going to help her with anything, but she has some quotes. And she wrote the date, which tells me that she's just copying shit out of books. She's literally copying the date, the person, the content. You know, the little contents at the bottom. She copied that shit line for line. She's just reading the book with a little quote that suits her a little bit, and she just copies and pastes it onto her note. Pages of this note is just quotes that Sarah Boone found necessary for this, situation. But let's move forward. Okay, so she thoroughly attacks the judge. She makes it clear that the judge is a piece of shit, right? We move forward to the part that I think her lawyer actually allowed her to read because it probably would have made Kraynick give her more time for being a bitch. I'm just going to read part of it and show you a clip so you guys know exactly where we're at. She said, Kinstakuru is a kind of Japanese... I messed it up. Don't listen. Don't blame me. Okay? I'm trying. Kinstakuru is a kind of Japanese ceramic style, which means to repair with gold. In this tradition, when a ceramic piece breaks, an artisan will fuse the pieces back together again using liquid gold or gold dust lacquer. So rather than being covered up, the breaks become more obvious, and a brilliant new piece of art emerges from the brokenness. It embraces flaws, weakness, and imperfection, and also teaches the essence of resilience. Every crack in its ceramic piece is a part of its history, and each piece becomes more beautiful because it has been broken. This is the wisdom of Kinsukiro. In my wisdom, and with all of my repairs, then, now, and ongoing, God is, has been, and has always been my artisan. All of my gold is forgiveness. This has held me together, made me shine brighter, and overcome the damage caused by Jorge Torres, the Torres family, the justice system, Judge Woodland and Kraynick, Orange County Corrections Department, social media, scoundrel detectives, infamy, defamation, ongoing constitutional right violations, second-degree murder, forced into being pro se. Now, if you guys don't remember that whole beautiful speech that Sarah gives, you need to go back and watch my video. But here's a little small clip of what she had to say in that.
God is, has been, and will always be my artisan. All of my gold is forgiveness. This has held me together, made me shine brighter, and overcome the damage caused by George Torres, the Torres family, the justice system, Orange County Corrections Department, social media, scoundrel detectives, infamy, defamation, ongoing constitutional rights violations, second-degree murder, forced into being pro se. Just as gold is very precious, forgiveness is invaluable. Forgiveness is not an attempt to change or forget who, what, or how you've lived through to be so gold, but an act of grace, humility, and considerable self-compassion to be set free from sorrow. Withholding forgiveness denies your brilliance and adds even greater grief and deeper heartache, irreparable cracks on top of the already that no one deserves, no matter the pain or disappointment, untruths or injustice. It doesn't matter. As the more broken you are, even though now different than before, you've become more outstanding and more extraordinary. Above all, when you let go of blame, misunderstandings, excuses, give up your anger and cease from resentment, this is forgiven.
Now, look, that was Sarah enough, what we heard in court. But, she had to take it a step further and send the judge her full version because, she just wanted to have the last say so. Imagine having the last say and still losing. Judge Kraynick is going home to his wife, getting that home-cooked meal, doing all the things he want to do, cuddly at night. You're going to be over there with a prison wife. That's your best outcome, is a prison wife. Okay? I don't think you got the last say. You just made yourself look like a dumbass, and you insulted the only judge that seemed to kind of want to make things fair. I mean, I'm sure all of them wanted to be fair, but Kraynick made it a point to make it as fair as possible for Miss Sarah, and you're going to go and insult him. How do you think that's going to look in the future when you want to make maneuvers in jail? Maybe a law changes, you want to make a little maneuver out of jail. You leave a message like that to Judge Kraynick. You call him the Black Robe. Okay, Sarah, let's move forward. I believe she read this in court, but I want to read this little part real quick because the way she attacks Kraynick, I don't even understand how he didn't have any words for her. Maybe he just has better things to do in his life. But let me read this one little snippet she says in her note. To this day and all forward, I do not forfeit my rights, any of them, ever, especially my right to be bold, outspoken, and right in my real life experience with the legal and justice system. You weren't there, Judge Kraynick, in any of it. No messages, phone calls, visits, and still took my rights and oppressed harder. I must now defend myself against you. Hold on. You weren't there for any of it? Ma'am, this is another judge. No shit, he wasn't there for any of it. You imagine a judicial system where a murderer needs to have the judge come to their cell, hold their hand, and be like, hey, Sarah, how are you feeling? Do you need to ask me anything in person? Are your nerves worked up? Do you feel like you're going to get life? How is everything going, Sarah? That's what she wanted. She wanted the judge to be nice to her. It wasn't intentional, Sarah? No? Okay, I hear you, Sarah. She wanted visits from the judge. Can you imagine that shit? What a fucking brat. You want visits from the judge, huh? If he didn't do that, he's biased. He's for the other team. Listen to this. You weren't there, Judge Kraynick, in anything. No meetings, phone calls, visits, and still took my rights and oppressed harder. I think that's kind of what a judge does. The judge doesn't get involved, you fucking moron. He's supposed to be neutral, but at the same time, you want him to three-way a phone call? I must now defend myself against you, praying you do not care too. So we get to the end of the letter. She says, it means no difference. All is forgiven. Prosecutors, Mr. J and Mr. Kokotov, I don't know. My forgiveness is also extended for your inappropriate attributed narratives, for having to go through years of my pictures, videos, texts to erroneously, and then that's where it ends. I'm pretty sure she was going to say to erroneously display them in the court. Imagine being forgiven for doing your job. My pictures, texts, messages, that's kind of what a prosecutor does. Like, if I didn't do that, I wouldn't be a prosecutor. So, I mean, I guess forgive me for doing my fucking job. This shit is crazy. But I mainly just wanted to get to the beginning of that letter because she gave Judge Kraynick the business, boy. Like, listen, she needed him to know that he was a black robe. If you don't like a judge, just call him the black disease, the black robe. It's all good. He'll love you for that. If you ever have a situation with a judge, just write him and say, don't be like one of them black robe judges, them black disease judges. He'll love you for that shit. But anyways, people, I'm going to check you guys out later. I love you guys. Stay inside, stay safe, man. I hope you guys have a great December. It's already the 14th. So it's almost Christmas. So Merry Christmas, everybody. You know the vibes, man. Stay inside, stay safe, drink the hot cocoa, get the eggnog. Everybody prepare for the Christmas time. And I'm going to see you guys very soon. Peace.